Today's program is discussing financial essentials for young adults. What's crazy is we're not taught some financial skills when we're younger, which frankly doesn't make sense to me. So today we're going to share some thoughts, maybe take some notes. One of the things I'm going to ask you is to kind of have an open mind because we all have preconceived thoughts as to saving money. And one of the things I want to reference and point out is we all come from different backgrounds and having experiences through our parents and our grandparents as to what money means, what do I do with money? And you learned habits. You learned maybe spending habits, or you learned what to do with your money. I personally didn't really grow up with money. So I come from a place of wanting to save and accumulate versus being a spender. So one of the things I'll ask you to think about and write it down is, are you a saver or are you a spender? So today's workshop, maybe you're age 25, maybe you're 40 years old. I don't know where you are in life, but I'm going to kind of be broad. I welcome questions. You can email me, you can call me and touch base with me. So I want to just start off by saying the earlier that you're able to start to save for your future, the better off you are. Number one. Number two, if we can start to create habits and create some sort of a savings plan on a monthly basis. So you're paying rent. Maybe you increase your rent by $500 a month or $1,000 a month. Because one of the most important things about saving and managing money, and somehow the brain makes this happen, really, that if you increase your rent or mortgage payment by $500 or $1,000, somehow everything gets paid. Maybe you'll make an extra phone call. Maybe you'll work a little harder to save and accumulate some more income. But the first message I always share is to pay yourself first. Credit card debt is extremely dangerous. Credit card institutions are in a business of making money. Credit card institutions are charging people anywhere from 18 to 28%. Can you imagine? You owe $1,000 and they're wanting to charge you 28%. So that means in the calendar year, you're going to pay $280 of interest, which is crazy. So then the question is, how am I supposed to pay down the credit card debt if in fact I'm paying this exorbitant amount of money to this credit card company? Let's talk about some habits. The advantage is not necessarily the amount of income you're earning. It's creating time, it's creating habits, and it's creating protection. So by saving small amounts of money on a monthly basis, you're able to build a base, you're able to cover your budget. You want to understand what your budget is on a weekly and monthly basis so that you can live within the parameters of what you're earning. And you have to be very, very conscious about spending the money that you are bringing in without having to live in excess. One of the things I need to bring to your attention is sometimes we use money for the wrong reason. Maybe I'm not feeling well. Maybe I'm feeling a little depressed or anxious, and you're going to go buy something. So you want to see and acknowledge, am I using money as a bad tool, as something to make me feel better? Now, by the way, you can also look at this like food. I don't feel good. I'm going to eat some more food, which goes against my desire and discipline to be in shape, to work out, and to be conscious of my food intake. So I want you to think about how you feel about money and how you react to money so that ultimately we want you to be in control of your money. By budgeting, by creating habits will help you to feel good, would help you to gain confidence, and will allow you to accomplish those goals. You want to buy an apartment. You want to buy a condo, a co-op. You want to buy a house. You want to save for college. You have children. You want to build a family. You want to go on vacation. This doesn't just happen by itself. And you need to take responsibility for these things. So when you use your word and you want to accomplish something, if you're able to fulfill on what you speak, if you're able to fulfill on what you say you're going to do, you're going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to accomplish these goals and tasks, which ultimately increases your confidence. And frankly, when you have confidence, you have a good attitude. And when you have a good attitude, life kind of shows up as opposed to there's upset or someone says something, or maybe a date didn't work out the right way, or maybe a relationship at work didn't really jive. But when you have confidence and you have a good attitude, you're able to deal with life as it shows up and occurs for you in just a healthier manner. Okay, you're in your 30s, you start to increase these investments and you're creating some more intentionality. Now you're looking at maybe family planning and you're creating bigger goals. The goal is not perfection. It's about making smart moves early and creating an automation to it so that it just happens automatically. I have money coming out of my checking account for savings, for paying expenses, and I have zero balances on my credit card, yet I'm getting points, I'm getting some miles, I'm paying my bills on time, and I'm not getting hit with any type of fees and expenses. Now, everybody's situation is different. So if you want to talk about this, if you want to discuss it, ring me, talk to me. I wake up in the morning with the intention of wanting to contribute and make a difference. And that's both personally and professionally. That's just what, kind of moves me to want to educate, coach, and help people. Now, between you and me, sometimes with my own children, it's not good or perceived as great because they feel like I'm always kind of preaching. But the truth is, I want the best for them. I want the best for you. And I want to be able to have you do certain things that, frankly, maybe I wasn't taught as a young person. And I'd love to be able to share with you my 40 years in this business. Check this example out. So here's $250 that we're going to save on a monthly basis. And we're going to save this to age 65, and we're going to earn 8% hypothetical on this investment. Look at the difference by waiting 10 years and then starting this program at the age of 35. So on a 25 beginning, you accumulated $873,000. And by waiting 10 years and starting at the age of 35, you only have $373,000. That's $500,000 that you were not able to take advantage of by delaying a automatic habit of saving 250 bucks a month. Now, between you and me, let's be candid. Living in the city, living these days, spending $250 goes pretty quick. So if you can put yourself on a pay yourself first basis, isn't it interesting how the credit card bill gets paid, the cell phone bill gets paid, your electricity, your rent? Please put you on the top. And by the way, we're going to start to talk in a minute about your benefits and your 401k plan and the work benefits that you get in a moment. So in your 20s, let's focus on cash flow, debt, creating automatic savings, create a budget, know what you're spending money on, include clothing, include vacation, include birthday parties and various dinners. And the more specific you can be with this budgeting, the better off you are. And between you and me, I always round up, meaning if these expenses are 800 bucks, I call it $1,000. I'm not looking to tell you this, but if I may, put yourself on the top of the list. Save yourself $250 a month. Save yourself $1,000 a month. And it's a nice way of saving for the future. Many of my clients, some grandparents, some parents, have been introducing me to the younger generation, which is exactly why I am putting on this program today for that 25 to 40-year-old age group. I think you're the millennial group, and you have a certain way of doing things, and I'm offering some coaching. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we're not taught these habits or these concepts. Now, one of the most important things that I would like you to note is having an emergency fund. And an emergency fund is having money in a money market account, currently, say, paying about 3.5%, and that's going to fluctuate. When the Federal Market Committee lowers interest rates, the money market account interest rates get lowered. But it's safe, it's liquid, and it's available to you when you need it. So that's an important type of a account that we all should have, which frankly, I think helps you sleep at night. And everything I'm saying and sharing is exactly what I do. My emergency fund money is probably very different because of my larger expenses than yours may be. And you should have 3 to 6 months of this type of savings in this emergency fund account to cover and protect you. So, talking about protection, life can get expensive. So, you have insurances. You're renting, you own, you need to have a apartment or condo or home type of insurance. If you have a car, you need auto insurance. Should you be a W-2 employee at a company, you have some life insurance, you have disability coverage, you have medical insurance benefits. You could have transit type of a benefit where you can allocate money into this type of an account that can go to pay on a pre-tax basis for like buses and trains, should you be living in the city and you need to get around. And there's a big difference, and I'll go over this in a minute, between using a pre-tax dollar as opposed to an after-tax dollar. People often think insurance and legal documents are for later, but they're pretty important now. And I'll go into some legal work in a minute. When you work for an employer, they give you 1 time, 2 times salary for life insurance. Make sure that you name your beneficiary. Make sure you keep that up to date so that you know who the beneficiary is and when this person's going to be receiving funds should something happen to you. Disability insurance. You're the goose that lays golden eggs. And candidly, I would rather have you have disability coverage today than life insurance because you're so young and you may not have financial obligations, which is why people have life insurance. But if you're disabled and you can't work for 3 months, 6 months, an accident, you're skiing, God forbid something happens with a car, you can't go to work, which means you can't pay some of your bills, which means you're tapping into your emergency fund. And or I know for myself, I had a cosign on my children's apartments living in Manhattan. So now what would happen if something happened to one of them? I would be financially responsible for paying more expenses out of my pocket. And what type of possible financial hardship would that be on your parent if your parent is alive and available to even help you? So I don't want you to be in a awkward and a scary situation by not having this type of protection. And I perceive this as like the base of the pyramid. And I really want you to understand your benefits from your employer. I mean, really crucial. I want to talk about this living will concept, which has to do with legal work. Over the age of 18, you're not under the HIPAA regulation, the Health Insurance Portability Act. If something happened to you, like you weren't able to talk, went into a coma, something bad, I would think you want your parents or a sibling, an uncle to help make decisions on your behalf. If you don't have a living will, which is a legal document that says I'm electing my mom and dad to help make decisions on my behalf, you're putting the doctor and the professionals that are caring for you in a very awkward situation. So make a note, maybe through your employer, you have a legal benefit, that you have a living will put in place, um, a will to be put in place for you. And now, by the way, many of this market, 25 to 40, candidly are receiving inheritances from grandparents and parents. I help people with managing their investments. That's what I do. And I'm on a Fidelity platform and I'm independent, so I can use Vanguard or BlackRock iShares. And I'm very conscious of fees. And that goes for even people's 401k plans, helping them with the ability, like, how do I invest this? And very often, employers put you into something called a target date fund. And frankly, I don't like them. And the reason why I don't like them is because the target date money manager is managing this portfolio only based on that portfolio, not knowing about everything else that you may have, if you understand what I mean. And again, I open myself for phone calls and or shoot me an email with questions. Let's start building wealth. You're in your 30s, you want to earn money, you maybe change jobs, maybe you saw opportunities. If you're in sales, you could create bigger goals to allow you, instead of making 2 sales a week, instead of seeing 10 people a week, maybe you see 12 or 15, which is hopefully increasing maybe your compensation possibly by 50%. So if you put these goals in place, this will give you a driver to be able to save money, accumulate wealth for yourself so that you can work hard today and maybe take it easy as you start to get older. Saving for retirement. A benefit that your employer gives you is medical insurance. And some of you have to pay some amount of money for that. And that goes for dental and vision and disability and maybe life insurance. And you really, really want to understand by a conversation with HR, what is the value and what type of benefits are available to you so you could take advantage of that? A great benefit that's offered today is a 401k plan. A 401k plan is a profit sharing plan with a quote 401k end quote provision, which allows you, an employee, to contribute money to your account either on a before tax or after tax basis. Before tax is a regular 401k plan like an IRA, get a tax deduction. So if you're earning $100,000 and you put in 10%, which is $10,000, you would get a W-2 from that employer for approximately $90,000. And that money grows tax deferred, and it is available to you at the age of 59 and a half without a 10% penalty. And very often people delay that till retirement, age 65, 68. And when you take the money out, it's taxable income. What I've been advising many of your peers is contributing their 401k monies to a Roth 401k, which means I'm putting money in after tax, which long term is really, really beneficial for you. And here's why. Anything you put in after tax is going to grow tax free and is going to be distributed tax free. So, my example I often give is, would you rather pay tax on the seed or would you rather pay tax on the harvest? And most employers offer 401k plans, and in their 401k, they offer a provision where you can elect to put money into a Roth election, which is allowing monies to grow tax-free and then distributed tax-free. Now, by the way, many of your 401k plans have a company match. If things are tight for you, which I can appreciate and respect, I want you, please, to at least take the free money off the table and get the company match because it's free. It's a benefit. It's part of your compensation. It's part of your employment agreement that the company is going to give you a 401k contribution, a match, and it's free money. And please don't give it up. Please don't give it up. Um, the investments that you select, I prefer an ETF, a mutual fund, a an iShare account, which is a diversified basket of investments like the S&P 500 as an example. So you're putting money into an investment and it's diversified in this example of 500 stocks, which is the S&P 500, and you're investing $1,000 a month and you're buying shares of this fund on a monthly basis. So one month it may be $10 a share. The next month it could be $9.50. The next month it could be $9.75 or $11. And what you're doing is you're dollar cost averaging into this investment. And it's a wonderful method of investing money for the long term. I talked about the living will. So again, this conversation is not only for you, but I'm planting a seed for you to talk to your parents and your grandparents or aunts and uncles who are getting on in age. And the reason I'm saying this, I want you to have these deep conversations with your parents so that if your mom and dad or grandmother and grandfather want certain requests, that you provide that for them because you can't read someone's mind. And as mom and dad or grandma and grandpa are getting older, and should you be in charge, if you're the oldest, or maybe you're number two, and it's okay to know, by the way, I went to this seminar and this is recorded, so someone can go on the website and look at it, and you could share it with your friends and peers. You're having this upfront discussion about what it is you want so that I can follow your request out of love, by the way. So check this out. Assets pass on three ways. Assets pass on based on title. So I own a house. I have it jointly held with my wife, and I die, it goes to her. I have a bank account. It's jointly held. I die, it goes to her. The second way assets pass on is through contract law. Contracts name a beneficiary. You have a life insurance policy from work. You have a IRA account. You have a 401k account. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a nurse or a doctor and you work for a hospital. Maybe they have something called a 403b plan, which is similar, and you're naming a beneficiary, which is contract law. The third way assets pass on is through your last will and testament, i.e., in the left-hand side of this illustration, a will tells the executor who gets what, when do they get it, how do they get it, for how long do they get it. Maybe in this will, there is the emotional aspect of this piece of jewelry I would like to go to my daughter. This watch, I want to go to my son. I'm making all this up, but you get my drift. And as parents and grandparents get older, between you and me, I share with them that maybe we should be giving the kids this inheritance a little earlier so that I could see you using it, so that there's value, so that you know I wanted you to have this out of love and to, remember me. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Mom and dad are not going to be alive forever. And having these kind of deep conversations coming from a place of love means something. Um, Insurance, you want to review your insurance. You want to review auto and life and disability coverage so it matches your current income and your goals. And I put down in your 30s, some of you are getting married in your late 20s, and that's wonderful. But I'm being candid. There's a certain amount of responsibility that we are taking on as we grow and take on more responsibility. Just to be, very straightforward. You have children, We need to save some money for their college education, like maybe your mom and dad did for you. And then lastly, your housing or selecting a guardian for your children and keeping that up to date so that if it's a sibling or if it's a dear friend, how's the relationship with that person? And is that person still the person that you want to care for and love your children or help manage and act as the executor, executrix of your will? And there's another document that I want to just briefly bring up, which is called a living trust. A living trust basically is a shoebox with shoestrings on the outside, which means you can touch, you have control of these assets inside this shoebox called this Saul Simon Living Trust. Uh, and you would have maybe your apartment, your house owned by it. You would have bank accounts. You would have a brokered savings account owned by the living trust. And what the trust provides you is privacy. It also helps to offset any probate expenses. I live in Florida. Florida has a 5% probate fee. New York, expensive probate fee. Jersey, for example, minimal. But I think it's still a good tool. You'll hear me reference the word tool as like products or legal documents are tools in one's financial plan. Money mistakes by people before the age of 35. They're waiting to start retirement savings. This delay is very expensive, and I think you saw earlier what happened by delaying 25 to 35, that 10-year time horizon, there was a missed opportunity of $500,000. That's a lot of money, in my opinion. Carrying credit card debt. Did you receive credit card applications with maybe a $2,500 or a $5,000 credit line that you were able to tap and use just by signing a piece of paper? I told you, credit card companies are in the business of making money. All of a sudden, you start spending plastic and you kind of don't realize that you got to pay it all back. Otherwise, you're getting hit with some very expensive interest rates. So I just want to be conscious of this and offer this education and insight that you got to take responsibility for you and more importantly, your money, because no one else is going to do this. No one else is going to do this. Um, and I'm just coming from like caring, as if we were like having a glass of wine or a beer. I'm just sharing these thoughts. There's a saying, if I buy you lunch, you're full. If I teach you how to fish, you can feed yourself. If you're hearing my conversation, I'm offering this education so that you're able to learn and you're filtering information when your friends or someone else talks to you. You're able to kind of filter it, and you could always turn to me and ask me some clarification of questions. But and that goes for even like the news. Sometimes people are on TV talking stuff that, frankly, either A, doesn't apply to you, and they're not asking you these questions as to how it would apply to you, or they're just shooting from the hip and it's kind of like, not applicable to you. Employer benefits, remember I told you, when you have an employment agreement, you're getting medical, maybe you have to pay some amount of money. Fair is fair. It's expensive these days. Life, disability coverage, the 401k match. Ignoring and not realizing what you can do with this is just hurting you and it's not fair. Putting money into the market, you're on the internet, you're using your cell phone, Apple, Facebook, Nvidia, putting gas in the car, turning electricity on. These companies want to make a profit. I want you to invest in these companies. I want you to save for your future. And I frankly, candidly, I'm not a big believer of putting money into one stock or five stocks because there's a lack of diversification. And if something happens with that one stock, I don't want you to get hit. I don't want you to get hurt. And I'd rather, although I'm being conservative, invest in, for example, the S&P 500 because you're now diversifying and spreading the risk amount amongst 500 companies and not necessarily looking to hit home runs. Because when you could look to hit a home run, you could also strike out. And in my opinion, you work really, really hard for your money, and we want your money to work harder for you than you work for it. And then protecting yourself. I want you to protect yourself with various insurance coverages so that you're cool. Maybe a 30-day action plan. People like, some goals like what can I do over a beer, a glass of wine? Look at your checkbook, look at your bank account, look at your cash flow. Where's the money going? Very often we have expenses that maybe we're no longer using. When's the last time you were at the gym? Next time you rent an apartment or you turn to a place to live, maybe you find a place that actually offers a gym so that you could save yourself $300 or $400 a month on a quote gym membership. I know it's expensive. I do. I know it's expensive to live today. Frankly, as we're getting older, it's my opinion that, you want to take full responsibility for your expenses without having to constantly turn to mom and dad to back you up. And I hope you don't mind me saying this. Create enrollment, automatic contributions, and create habits, just like when you do your 401k plan. It's automatically coming out of your paycheck. So you're not going to see it. And if you're able to do that type of savings, it helps with discipline. It helps with your confidence. Because at the end of a year, you get to look back and say, oh, look at what I did. I saved $20,000. And then you made another $3,000. I'm making this up, but it makes you feel good. It does. And maybe, if you don't mind me saying this, maybe you cook at home a couple nights or you bring your lunch a couple days because it's expensive to buy these meals. It's expensive to drink alcohol when you're out and about. Maybe, you don't drink, or maybe you have a beer or you have cocktail hour before you go out. You get my drift. I'm just trying to say things that you have a choice in the matter in choosing to spend the money or save the money. That could be getting, your nails done. That could be shopping. That could be a birthday present. Maybe you don't give such an extravagant birthday present, but it's certainly the thought that counts. All right. Attacking your debt. By the way, one of the debts I didn't speak of is student loan debt. Some of you have student loan debt. Another conversation that we should engage and discuss if it's important. Like, how do I manage paying off my debt? Do I cover the credit card debt? Do I cover the student loan debt? And then how do I save money in my 401k plan? Or how do I save money in a savings account? So I'm acknowledging there could be some confusion, and it's kind of worth a phone call. What I bring to the table is I'm a certified financial planner. I'm in this business 40 years. Um, I love educating people. And sometimes we start off small and we build and we grow. And on an annual basis, we bump up those savings rates because some of you recently may have gotten a raise or a bonus. And maybe we earmark that expense before you start spending it, if you get my drift. Because sometimes the more money that comes in, the more money that's going out. And then protect and review, check your insurance, review your benefits, check your beneficiaries, look at your basic legal documents, and start to create some financial freedom for yourself, which again, if you start small and you start soon and you'll stay consistent to be able to grow and to build the life and accomplish these things that you want to accomplish. So, as I mentioned, this recording is taped. Maybe some of you want to pass this message on to some friends or family. But certified financial planner, 40 years in the business, love what I do. When it comes to life insurance, when it comes to long-term care and disability insurance, I can provide that service. When it comes to investments, I can give you that insight, that education. You want to send me your 401k statement, I'll look it over and give you some thoughts. If you hear a friend of yours talking that maybe is coming into an inheritance, they need coaching. And I'd hate for them to, piss the money away, make some bad decisions, be taken advantage of. And I'm just here to help. So, with that, I thank you for tuning in. I welcome any questions, and I wish you a wonderful and healthy day. Thanks very much.